Alright, Pyro's been on a bit, Pyrrho has been on a bit of a video rampage, so I think I'll respond to one of them, and I'll speed this up. So, you don't like it? Too bad, I sort of like it. It's, I think it expedites the whole thing. I think it's better. I think more people would appreciate me saving time than the people who find it irritating. And it's a little too much trouble to do the video twice. I mean, upload it twice and all that crap, so maybe I'll come up with another solution, but for a little while we're going to do this.
So I rewatched just a little bit of this video, and one thing I noticed is saying the videos you're watching are a waste of time. If you think what you had to say is a waste of time, then watching that generated the energy you needed to make the video you wanted to make, so that 10 minutes.
Oh, whatever. I mean, look, there's a certain... Sorry, I'm doing some experimenting. Took the case off the battery, someone electrified. But anyway, look, I mean, there's a certain, there's a point where there's no conversation anymore, where we're just being circular, and we're more of the same crap, and that's how it is with me and gratex. There's no point. I mean, we have nothing to communicate about. We premise our existence entirely differently. And so we might agree on some social policies inadvertently, just sort of how me and you agree on some social policies inadvertently. But I would argue that without the fundamental principles, it crashes. That agreement will crash into the wall of the truth, or whatever you want to call it, the wall of necessity eventually, where we will disagree critically and vitally. And that's where it all blows up. And so if we don't argue that disagreement, we're accomplishing nothing. So that's what I mean by a waste of time. This bullshit about the outside is bullshit. We have to get to the core of this. And until we resolve that core issue, there's really, the conversation is a little bit pointless.
So you have to do your tendency like this. Anyway, whatever, that's what this is. This concept, again, that the DNA, in this video, Gary, you say, you paraphrase gratex as saying we should just sit around in the lawn chair and let the DNA run things, not use our brain. Let the DNA.
Yeah, well, I don't paraphrase him. I played this whole damn video and I made the premise argument. That's kind of lame. In the comments, gratex claims I strawmanned him. I mean, it's just bullshit. I play your whole fucking goddamn video that the straw man is not there. You're advocating in defense of the DNA, and so is Pyrrho. That somehow nature understands what's going on. The universe has a destiny, and we have no role to play. Intelligence has no role to play, and it's just bullshit. This is a role, okay? Whether you want to call this natural or not doesn't matter. You want to call what I'm doing right now natural? I don't care. You want to call it part of the universe's agenda? Fine, I don't care. The point I'm making is that logic starts dictating what the agenda is going to be. And what I'm saying is logic is all pointing to one conclusion, and that is that the agenda of the universe is stupid. That the agenda of the universe is moronic. That the universe has no brain. It doesn't know what the fuck it's doing. And if we don't manage it, there'll be no intelligent management. That's just the fucking goddamn truth.
Anyway, but again, because from my point of view, the DNA built the brain.
Let's understand, though, the brain does two different things here. The brain is a sentient want creature and an intelligent creature. There's two things here. We can't deny that. I claim there's three. There's a reptile, there's an ape, and there's a fucking intelligence on top of it all. Okay? Meaning there are biological necessities motivating us. There are conditioned necessities, that would be the ape, emotions. And then there is this capacity to do this abstract, intellectual, pure, objective thinking, where we are not allowing the ape or the lizard to pollute the conclusions. That's my argument. We should only be, in philosophical discussion, we should have knowledge of feelings. Okay, we have learned what they are. We've experienced them. We should communicate that experience with feelings. But we should not be allowing our feelings to have any authority in describing or telling us anything whatsoever. Our feelings are irrelevant to a value equation. They are bullshit. They are monkey crap and reptile crap. They are not fucking intelligence. Whoops, hit the wrong button. I'm going to have to patch the fucking video.
So, if we want to let the DNA run things, then we have to use our brain. We would have to assume we're giving it to use.
Given it to use. I mean, this kind of rhetoric's not going to get us anywhere. Let's define the DNA as having a built-in structure. And we can call that an agenda. Okay, it's structured to do something. And what it's structured to do in this material universe is reproduce itself, create copies of the form that possesses the blueprint. Okay, so the blueprint changes in the sense that the DNA molecule is changed, and that change is manifested into the organism that possesses that DNA signature. That's what it's doing. It's a reproducing device. That's its agenda. Okay, it has no intent, as we would use the word. But the point is the mechanics of it create this phenomenon of reproduction. And when let loose in a system where it's not confined by anything but physical laws, this is what it does. It evolves. It competes with itself and evolves. It eats itself and evolves.
And used to survive, not to destroy necessarily, unless you needed it to survive. To survive.
Again, so okay, right, this is a key word for you. And to me, it's a word that means absolutely nothing, okay? Survival without rational qualification is nothing. Survival in and of itself, for no other purpose but to survive, it is not logical. It is not rational. It is meaningless. So we must find a meaning for this survival. We must deduce some purpose that it accomplishes, something, some end, some good that is done through this survival. Now, you're a glass is half full kind of guy, so you're assuming there's a purpose and a good because you're saying, I got an orgasm, so therefore it's worth doing. You have a rationalization that's you're applying a value and saying this is why it's worth it doing it because it made me, and I contemplated something and it made my nipples twitch and it made me all joy, happy, happy, happy. I smelled a little flower and it gave me a little jolly, and therefore it is good. My argument is that's just a consequence of a contrived addiction that exists inside of your monkey psychology. All right, that's the DNA's agenda. It's not a rational agenda. It hasn't been rationally qualified by the DNA. It's just what addicts do. Addicts chase the thing they want. You've basically justified your want by saying my opinion is now qualified by my want. I want it, therefore it must be worth having because I want it. So this is a self-fulfilling prophecy or something. You're defending the value by relying on a contrived thing that exists from an irrational source. There's no rational element inside the equation that allows you to say there's value here. Sorry, that was longer than I intended, but it's a complex idea.
To use the brain to survive. Now, the brain has a lot of problems and it might self-destruct, but I don't see that if we survive. Now, for example, I don't think we can survive as a species if we keep wasting all this energy on war. Right? Because either we beat ourselves down to where we're all spread out and there's only a few of us left, start over. Or we have a society with a lot of people and there's just no way we can, war is either we're going to destroy ourselves or we're just weakening ourselves against the environment. Okay.
Yeah, I agree that we're going to be cockroached. The only thing that's going to survive is the crudest element of the human, the toughest, hardest-skinned human, the most crocodile-like human. But yes, the delicate, genteel culture and civilization will die. It won't survive the future. And there's no evidence that we're going to do what survival requires, which is suppress our monkey and our reptile. You're going to keep glorifying those two beasties. The addictions are to you the glory of life, and satisfying them in some natural environment is the glory of your life, and so therefore you're not going to compromise the essence that is the cause of the problem. The addiction is going to kill the human race.
So, even now, imagine if we were using all the militaries of the world, all of the forces of those militaries. For every rocket, we have a speedboat in the Coast Guard in there, rescuing people.
Yes, and imagine if the Egyptians, instead of wasting hundreds of years on pyramids, had taken that energy and worked on their civilization, and studied the sky, and synthesized metals, and experimented, and devoted it to science. All that energy was devoted to science, what they could have accomplished, and how far ahead we would have been. And maybe they would have blown up the world 1,000 years ago with a nuclear bomb.
Well, from acts of nature. It would be overkill. We wouldn't even need that much for that. So I just don't see war as long-term sustainable. So if the brain is going to survive, it's going to have to figure out how to get past war, right? And then we'd be letting the DNA run things. The DNA gave us a brain so we can figure out how to survive.
No, the DNA didn't give us any race, okay? Human race DNA. There's no human race DNA. So there's no DNA that wants the human race to survive. There's DNA in individual humans. Unfortunately, each individual human's DNA is out for itself. That DNA signature is trying to get into the future. Not the human race signature, that signature, that family, that clan of DNA. And that's as far as the DNA reaches. It doesn't go any further than that, all right? There is no more than a reptile and an ape in the DNA. Okay, culture is separate from the DNA, and intelligence is separate from the DNA. That's sourced from the external world. It doesn't touch the DNA's knowledge base. It doesn't influence the DNA's structure. The alphabet is not written in your DNA. It's written in books. That's a huge distinction. And so as long as we are the ape and the reptile, we will be clan animals, and that clan mentality will destroy civilization.
Fine. But the thing about attributing some, thank you, DNA, like we should thank you, you have an agenda to help us. Well, no, because, the DNA is also in other creatures that are competing with us, and, the DNA...
Exactly. So we could have, as we've seen, that some little half life form, some little RNA monster can parasitically infect our cells and destroy us because it's to its advantage, because its signature can use us to reproduce. And as long as it can find vitality and survival external to us, it can use us like we're disposable. It can use us like a sexual aid, like a vibrator. It can put some batteries in, use it up, and throw it in the garbage, and then go on to the next thing. That is a possible scenario. So as long as the right AIDS virus comes along, a virus more durable than the AIDS virus, one that can survive outside of a human cell, that kind of machine could kill us off very, very quickly.
Man has this sort of behavior where it's like, here, have a brain, see if it helps you survive. Oh, it did it? Well, that's interesting. Or, actually, I'm not even going to remember it. We'll just try something else. Maybe we'll even try brains again.
Yeah, but what evolution does is it ends up finding the durable over time. Okay, we're a transition species. Crocodile, dragonfly, these are the things. When nature finds something that works, it's perfect. Great white shark. It just sticks with it, okay? That thing stays in the environment. It becomes a dominant player in the environment. It's durable. The dinosaurs were pretty durable until some catastrophe wiped them out, but they were a durable thing. If it wasn't for some catastrophe of huge magnitude, yeah, they would have been here. They'd be here still. That was and that's what nature creates over the long term. It creates the hard cases, the crude, simple design.
I've got billions of years to do this. So, this is what I mean about it. There's not a competition. It's like we are not using our brains well. This is the point of making my definition of an enlightenment process. Even though we can't know what's really enlightening as all the detailed facts, we can make these generalizations, I think, that it's taking things into account on larger and larger scales and feeling these connections. Okay.
Well, feeling connections right there, in my opinion, that's a very unenlightened perspective. The minute you start applying, again, knowledge of feelings, we should know what a feeling is. We should know that it has a positive or a negative character, and that we want to try to maximize the positive and minimize the negative. But we can't allow feelings to describe reality, to tell us what something is, whether it's valuable or not valuable. We don't use feelings to do that. We have to use our intelligence to do that. So in my opinion, you're breaking the road to enlightenment. The road to enlightenment, the truth, requires us to accept that nature is not the source of knowledge and wisdom. It's the source of crude, dumb forces.
And, this is because that's what we have to use our brain to do. To survive, we're going to have to become more enlightened. And, the DNA has given us the brain that figured this out. And even though we've had thousands of years of slavery, it's given us the brain so that we still have a word for slavery, and we're still trying to get rid of it. And a lot of us.
Yeah, and just think about it. Thousands of years of human beings suffering, and these human beings somehow couldn't figure out that wasting and squandering that suffering was monumentally foolish. And the most sophisticated and elegant and book-read of the humans would sit there with their servants, feeding them and taking care of them. They would use them up. They would kill them in their industry. And they were too stupid to appreciate that simple fact. And my argument, I guess, is that even with all our enlightenment, our intelligence, we can't see the obvious. We can't accept the obvious. We can't deal with the obvious. And the obvious is this is an equation that presents really difficult circumstances. It can't be done simply. It can't be done some natural way. There's just too much waste built into us.
I think we have. We mostly all want to get past it, or as I said, think we have. And I feel thankful. Thank you, DNA. I could imagine that I might be a kind of animal that after a few thousand years of slavery would just think, oh, I'm a slave animal. That's what I do. And we're not that way. And that's good.
I don't even know what that means. We're not that